12, Part 3. I'm going to move on to clan. I feel like we covered a lot of that pretty well. So clan is an extended family. In Scotland, you have tartans. If you think about plaid fabrics, that evolved from tartans, and those used to be very specific to a clan. Like you would wear red with black stripes, and that would mean you were, a particular last name. And then you'd wear green and you'd have a different last name. So that's your extended family. Usually it's not maybe the people that you're living directly with, but maybe the village is made up of a good number of your cousins and so on. So extended family art that helps solidify this are making their ancestors available to the living. There are a lot of cultures that worship ancestors or just honor them or have images of them around. We all take photos of our family and keep them around. And, if somebody's passed away, sometimes they have a place of honor. We make an altar for them. So that's the kind of thing that we're looking at in this section of the chapter 12. So we're going to depict important events in the clan's history. With this particular piece from Rome in the 1st century is a 2,000-year-old piece. So we have a statue of Tagata Barberini. Sorry, I'm going too fast. So they have a major impact on the prestige of the living. And you think about your family name, or what does that mean to present people from the past, and you're always around maybe people that your parents or grandparents influenced, or say you have a restaurant, for example, with the name on the front, that's the kind of thing which influences your living circumstances. So ancient Romans believed that their ancestry was tremendously important. They're very focused on this, and they preserved portraits of their ancestors and venerated their memories. So at first, ancestors' portraits were death masks made with soft wax. That's a practice that has some current context. People make masks, sometimes with clay or wax, once somebody passes away. Around the 1st century BC, Romans had copies of the death masks made in marble. So what you could do is you've taken that last image with wax, you put some soft material over that dead person's face, you let it harden, you pull it off, and then you can do a plaster cast and then carve a bust into marble. So this is an example of a Roman portrait made for worship. He's holding busts that boast his lineage. I don't know exactly who these people are, but he's got these other people that are part of his lineage, okay? But he's also now deceased. This is a really interesting piece. I usually have students do a essay on this. The Zapotec people of Mexico, their ancestors were so important that the living were interned in dead in tombs under their houses and consulted on problems. So they would keep a leg bone. Now, leg bone, through history, a lot of cultures have collected the leg bone once somebody's passed as proof of existence. And this leg bone ensured their right to rule, so they would wave that around and say, or display it, say this person still was my family member, and if they went underneath, they could see that person being there. Okay, so these were faces that were made in the likeness to some degree, male, and then we have a female here of the ancestors. And these are portrait heads. They're portraits of those deceased people from Tomb 6. This is in Oaxaca, Mexico, 1,400-year-old piece. And they were likely the founding parents of a clan. So they were important. Their important lineage was traced by both sides. So the male and the female were equally important. All right. So they have to provide this legitimacy from this ancient culture, and they also were consulted when difficult times would come up. Okay, so clan history. This is another example. This is our Northwest natives, and you've recognized the way this work looks. And it's kind of interesting because it's British Columbia, it's Canada, Alaska, Canada, then down through Seattle and Oregon, that area. A lot of the artwork looks like that from the Native Americans of that area. But this is a really gorgeous piece, and we've seen them, we think of those as totem poles, but this one is a bit smaller than that. It's inside, and it's a post that's inside the house. So this is our post and beam architecture here. So it's holding up there, and it was carved out within the house. So the Raven House was a lineage house built when the new lineage was founded because of death or marriage. Art, and this is a vehicle for clan cohesion. So these are featured in lineage houses, and there were prominent ritual feasts. We look at our potlatch example, and when the leadership of the clan changed, they would have feasts to honor the ancestors. So the Thunderbird represents the chief, this top piece here, the Thunderbird's head, and then the wings. And then the curved beak and curved ears suggest supernatural powers. Extra eyes on the wings and torso imply power. We've seen this in Maori culture, which is so interesting because this is, oh my goodness, maybe 6, 8, maybe 10,000 miles away, but it is on the same travel in terms of the Pacific. It's entirely possible. This is the very top end of the Pacific, where it ends in the north, and the Maori are toward the south. Below the Thunderbird is a bear associated with an elder or high-ranking person. Our bear is right here. This is nice because it's diagramming us the different parts of the design elements that are used. So A is this ovoid form for the eye. B is a typical U with semi-angular curves, and C is a split U with an outline. Okay, so these are our different sort of elements of the features. And another one for clan rituals, for clan rituals is a very different piece from Papua New Guinea. Now this depicts, what you're looking at here is depicting what the elaborate ritual would be. So the Asmat are passing on the life force of the deceased clansmen to the rest of the group. So this is a carved pole. Bis or Biz poles represented deceased clansmen, now called ancestors. So large sculptures such as these are associated with rituals that enhance male power and fertility. In this case, I think they're referring to how men would jump off we're not going to show it. This is men that are jumping off this sort of structure that they would build. It's very dangerous, and people would die all the time. But anyway, it's kind of this woven structure. You jump off of it, and you would land carefully. It's a little bit tricky to explain. You'll have to look that up. But it's really a gorgeous piece that we're seeing here. This is wood and plant fiber. This is the Epa headdress called Orangun. Now in Africa we know that they have longer and more elaborate rituals at times, and sometimes these pieces can be quite large, that a headdress might extend quite a ways out from the body. This particular one that we're looking at has got the founder of the clan within. And then this is the Epa Festival held every other year for 3 days in March to promote fertility and the well-being of the community. So a masquerade comes from Africa, and we see this throughout Africa. There are masquerades where you don't look like yourself and you have masks on. And this is the Yoruba people, and there are many, many cases where Africans wear different types of masks. Now this travels into the New World via slave ships, and we talked about Haiti and parts of Cuba and the Caribbean and so on. But Mardi Gras, that sense of costumes that happen around the same time of the year, that combined with Catholicism to form Mardi Gras, and it's got a direct lineage.